Hello, this is Vibrant Voices. Welcome to part 2 of our conversation with Mexican director Reynaldo Escoto. I'm your host, Charles Elling.
I actually come from, because I'm also a teacher at the university, and today I had a class about director, no? Being a film director. It's called they have like three-part director, one, two, and three. So a student approached the concept of the styles within the filmmakers, no? And I told them that that they were going to be able to learn a lot in this class regarding being a director, but the other part was to see films, to absorb films, to see a film more than one time, no? And that's another type of class, of a directing class, no? And and obviously there's going to be filmmakers that are going to love their style, that will establish a style. Um, but I told them that maybe if we focus on producing and not the 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 sentiment of creating our own style and our own legacy was going to be an approach that was going to be less stressful in a way, and that it will evolve maybe naturally, because you cannot determine a filmmaker with a style by one film.
True.
He has to produce a series of films. And then there are some directors that you see three or four of their films, and you cannot guess who's a director because they're so diverse. Because they go into animation, they go to horror, then they go to romance, comedy, and even though they might have like some technical basis, the films can seem very, very different. So I think like the key part is just to see films, just to obviously be influenced by the filmmakers that passion you and that you love, and integrate some elements, but not in a sense of like trying to copy a style, or like if you focus so hard on trying to create a new style or your own style, you might lose like all the depth that is within just producing a film and
Mm.
having something to say. You can always have an opportunity to say it differently on the next movie, or to uh, establish certain um, points that you have already done and just like reaffirm them or polish them, no? But definitely there are filmmakers that I have seen that I always say, oh man, this filmmaker just made me fall in love with cinema again, you know? Like if it was the first time you fall in love with something or with someone, you know? And for example, one of them is obviously Krzysztof Kieslowski, this Polish filmmaker that I talked to you about. Another thing that he taught me was the exploration and narrative about the human condition, about human nature, about our moral values, and the complexity of being what we are, a human being. Uh, and also, something very interesting about Kieslowski is the importance of objects in film, and how objects uh, are used in film, how are used in real life, and how they contribute to the narrative. And sometimes an object can be just something symbolic regarding the narrative, or a tool, a key to open the next scene, or sometimes the answer to the problem, no?
True.
Or sometimes it's just there to give life to the context. So he also taught me about the relationship within for color and objects, and the importance of it in filmmaking. And I actually like have one class that it's based on the relationship of narrative and objects in film. And then another one that I'm really love is Wong Kar-wai, which is this Chinese director, and definitely he has a style. No, he established a style with this slow motion scenes. and very romantic. The use of soundtracks, it was interesting because I was watching one of his films for the first time, and I always had this cliche stereotype of the love coming from Paris and moi, 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 and then it was like, no, for me, love comes in Mandarin, in Cantonese, you know, because no one makes a film about love and the complexity of love like Wong Kar-wai for me personally, and it's something we're all gonna experience in our lifetime. And also the use of soundtrack for me, also like the rhythm, the velocity of technically like the film itself. Um, Sometimes the speed goes faster, sometimes it's very very slow, but the background is moving fast, and the soundtrack and the importance of music in film. um, it was and that we can appropriate ourselves from all the music around the world, you know, and that's the beauty of for example, that's the beauty of living in cities where we have so much diversity, people coming from so many countries, no? Because instead of being threatened that my type of music or the music of my region it's being at risk, it's totally the opposite. I can have more music in my playlist. I can dance to other music. I can enjoy to other music. I can cry to other music. No, so for example, I was watching this film, which is my favorite from Wong Kar Wai, which is In the Mood for Love, and then I start hearing Nat King Cole singing in Spanish in a Chinese film, and I was like, what? And it's not only that. I mean, I'm saying what, but I'm connecting to the scene, to the film, and the characters. It does feel genuine. It does feel real. And and just like those two, I mean, there's others. For example, Hitchcock, suspense, the master of suspense, how you show something and then you create all this situation around the characters not knowing that's something that and how horror sometimes it's something that works like that, not just like a jump scare on our now contemporary horror cinema, and there's another, I mean, there's others. I'm going to close with this one, but there's also Guillermo del Toro, no? Which is this Mexican filmmaker. And I love his creativity and his approach and his love to humanity in his films, exposing and questioning or telling us to question ourselves, creating these beautiful creatures like these monsters. And if you see all his filmography, in reality, the monster is not the monster, but the human, you know? And it's like telling us, hey, what's going on with us as our species, no? Hmm.
That's good. That's good. I'm curious as as a teacher, and I taught music and film. The students, did he accept what you were coming? Because I know sometimes when I talk to my students, there's always pushback. It's like they don't see where I'm coming from. Did he understand where you were coming from when you explained to him that not a particular style, but you have to absorb movies and you have to see a body of work before you can, you know, look at a style of a director.
Yeah, I think like part of the teaching experience and coming from the like, for example, I always say I am a teacher because I'm an eternal student, because I always want to learn, because I'm always learning, and also my students are also my teachers, you know. Um, so what when I told them what I said or what I wanted to say is, when they push, it's part of it,
Mm,
and when they don't push, it's not happening. They need to push, because why? Because they're questioning their own conformity. They're questioning maybe something that they have already established, and maybe a window opens, or maybe just a little crack,
mhm.
and then from there, the wind can open the whole window or the door, And when I was talking, he did push a little, but then I saw his eyes go like, wider, you know? And then he was like, well, I'm not going to argue that you need more than one film to create a style. And maybe the idea of focusing on producing and not the style I want to create and the legacy I want to create with this style can get me to the style itself. You know, I think at the end it's like how we say, you know, all roads go get you to Rome, you know, and there's different roads, you
Yeah.
know. Hmm.
So let's talk about your film, Teacher, Veterinarian,
Astronaut.
Astronaut. So tell us about the genesis. How did that whole thing come together? Because that's your first feature-length film, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that, and let's talk about how did that sort of came together, and how you you know made it happen.
Yes. Well, I think the experience with this film, it's been a very beautiful experience. Sometimes it's uh, it's hard to conceive the film as my film because it was so much on a community base that it's like our film, you know. And for example, the producers are not film producers, you know. Actually, like the industry, film industry in Mexico, it's not something that we have in all the states of Mexico. It's very much concentrated in Mexico City, you know. And even though we're close to the United States, that doesn't mean we have like a really like a consolidated like industry in Tijuana. Even though we even had the Fox studios in Rosarito for a long time, you know. Um, but with this said, is that one day I received a call, and it was this amazing woman from Espacio Migrante, Paulina, telling me that she had wanted to create this audiovisual project for the people in the shelter because Espacio Migrante is a migrant shelter in Tijuana, and uh, like she wanted me to see the possibility of me creating like a script workshop for the people in the shelter. And then we talked about like maybe the times and how long like she was planning. And I told her that it could be very complicated, no, because it's complicated for like a student already like in a fifth semester in film develop like a script, you know. uh, so what I proposed to her was that I could create like a workshop, like a narrative workshop, where we can collect stories, and then from there I could write a script. She said that the importance of this project was based on the right for people, for migrant people and refugees to education. Um, so that was the approach to the narrative workshop, and it was a beautiful workshop. Uh, they created like short stories. At the end, we tried to tell them to go into fiction, like we based the basis on fiction, but they all ended up telling their story about how difficult it is for them or their children to go to school in Mexico, and in this process of migrating one state from another state and so forth. No? So from there, I collected some anecdotes, some characters, and I created this fiction inspired by those real events. And there were some incredible stories. I think when we met, I was able to share you one that is not in the film, but I think it's like it sustains like the whole basis of the narrative of the film. For example, we have this xenophobia in our country and racism in our country that sometimes is not developed within the hatred part of us, but it's more like on the ignorant part and in the fear of not knowing that people have the right, or that the um, what you're representing, in this case the school, has really the possibility of letting, in this case, maybe children of other countries without like their citizenship going to school, no, for example. So it was something that we were able to find a lot, but at the end, some did got kind of like got like violent and racial and xenophobic, no. But there's like different um, um, layers within this, no. And for example, there was the anecdote that I shared with you that there was this woman that tried to put her child into school, elementary, in the southern state of Chiapas, which is bordered with Guatemala, with Central America. And the school said they rejected the child, obviously because she was a migrant, but they said, "Oh, sorry, we don't have no more school desks." No? And the mother said, "Oh, okay, you don't have desk. Okay." So the mother got back. Uh, she disassembled the whole uh, wood base of her bed, and she created a bench that same night. The next day, she comes with a bench, and she said, "Four kids fit in this bench. Now you have room for four kids, my child and three more." And they accepted the child. So we also saw the persistence of the women, uh, and it was very very clear for them that they are doing this because they want a better future for their children and for them, you know. And in all the stories it came, you know, and the majority of the stories were about women migrating by themselves with their, I mean, um, like single mothers migrating with their children. And we also found a lot of stories of women that had to migrate without their children because of certain circumstances, politically, money wise, violence, etc. You know, and it was not like they wanted to leave their children, but they would come and build within the country the possibility of bringing their children. No, and it's something that is also depicted in this film. So we have three main characters. One is Maleshka, which is this 8-year-old girl who wants to go to school. And then we have her mother, Maria. And then we have Sara, which is a migrant who's migrating without her daughter from Cameroon, Africa. And these three characters are going to come together in order to be able to give the opportunity to Maleshka to be able to go to school.
I mean, the life of a migrant is very complicated, and the stuff that you just shared with my audience show how complicated people's life can be, right? So my question to you, with the film being out, what was the response to your film so far? You've sent it to a couple of festivals, you've screened it, and do you have any sort of pleasant surprise or I didn't expect this type of thing response from your film? What was your experience now so far with the film?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I just come from a film festival in Mexico City, which is like the second oldest film festival in Mexico City. I mean, in Mexico, in the whole Mexico. The first one is Guadalajara, if I'm not mistaken. And this year it was the 30th uh, anniversary of this film festival, which is a children film festival. It's called Festival de Cine Internacional para Niños y No Tan Niños, which is the children film international film festival for children and not so children. No?
Mm.
And I love that concept, you know, because actually, like the festival is amazing. Like the curation that they do is just I mean, if you're a child, if you're an adult, you're gonna love it, no? So the film was selected. It didn't go like on a competition base, but it was selected to be part of the festival because they wanted to create the possibility for creating like a special screening. And this special screening, the intention was for children from a shelter in Mexico City and for the open public to be able to go to the same cinema and see this film. So it was a great experience. The producers were also able to go, Paulina and Sara, and we ended the screening, and then we had questions and answers. And since it's a children film festival, I stated that the importance of this first minutes to be focused on children comments and children's questions.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please subscribe and follow. That's so you will know when part 3 of this podcast is out. This podcast is